Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Test, test. All right. Can you all hear me in the back?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, perfect. Good evening. My name is Sara Countryman, and I'm campaigning to be your next county judge, Montgomery County Judge. Let's face some facts just for a moment. Montgomery County is in poor financial shape. We've robbed our fund balance and our contingency funds to the point of exhaustion. We've carelessly spent federal taxpayers' dollars and funds on new trucks, expensive storage buildings, and have a $500,000 medical tent that has been only used once. We've continued to allow preferential treatment to elected officials by giving them taxpayer-funded personal drivers after being criminally convicted, and security guards because they are afraid of the taxpayers. Worst of all, so much of this has been hidden and kept away from you, the taxpayer. Montgomery County deserves better. The taxpayers deserve better. The lack of transparency and accountability in county government can be fixed, but it starts from the top. It starts with the voters electing people who will not hide behind a chief of staff, the people with experience in building relationships with the private sector to maximize the service of taxpayers at a low cost, someone who understands the county as a nonprofit, that the money collects belongs to the taxpayers to be used for specific statutory purposes, not how they desire. After 18 years in the high-tech industry and working sales and implementation as an executive, developer, and in operation levels, as a two-term mayor of the city of Montgomery, a conservative Christian, a proud native-born fifth-generation Texan, I am that person. And I would like to ask you and let you know it would be my distinct honor to be your next Montgomery County Judge. You deserve it.
I'm Mark Keough, and I am your county judge. I want to thank you for being here tonight. It's so great to see such a great crowd. It's my goal here tonight that by the time you leave, that you will find me worthy of being able to be your judge for another session. During the last 3 years as your county judge, we've done some unusual things. First, we brought stability to the county government. The second thing that we've done is we've delivered on every single promise that I made in my contract with Montgomery County. I initiated and saw through, very painfully, the removing of tolls from 242 per my promise. Your Montgomery County taxes have come out in the original, the no new revenue rate or the effective tax rate. So as your appraisals have gone up, your tax rate has gone down. 3 times we've done that in 3 budget sessions. According to Barb Sadler, it's never been done in the history of the county. I dropped my salary when I entered into this position by 12%. And in dropping my salary for 12% when I swore in, I'm the only employee that works for Montgomery County who has never received a raise or has ever received a cost of living increase. I put Montgomery County through the pandemic, resisting draconian measures that the state and the federal government put on us, and fought with Austin and Washington, even some of the CEOs of the big box grocery stores and whatnot that stand to benefit from smaller businesses going out of business. I'm also the only candidate who has served in the Texas House of Representatives. I served in the legislature, and as a result of one, I have standing that my opponents do not have in the Texas House. I'm able to walk in there, I'm able to go into the chamber, and I'm able to present Montgomery County's issues, and have done that with the J.D. Lambright Truth or the Ethics in Local Government Act, and pushed that through all the way to the end. I also was involved in redistricting. I went to the Senate and testified, kept Magnolia from being divided in half. Lastly, I am the pastor of the Woodlands Bible Church, and I'm accompanied by my wife, who is here with us this evening, my bride, Kim. Thank you.
I'm Billy Graff, and I too, I'm probably very loud, pastor voice, and I want to thank you all for being here. Tonight, you are privileged to have an opportunity to do something because of where we live in a free country. You have an opportunity to listen to candidates and hear what they have to say. You have the opportunity to make a wise choice for the people, your families, and your friends. Tonight, I hope that as we ask and answer questions, that we will show respect to one another, first of all. But secondly, that we will understand that because we live in a country that is monitored by a constitution, there are certain alienable rights that we have. And as you can see, sitting up here, I have with me the Constitution of the United States of America, the Constitution of the great state of Texas, and I have also in this binder a copy of every single minutes of every single meeting that we've had in 2021 in this county. So as I answer questions and as I look at the details of the county and how it works, the challenges, the problems, the opportunities, I have documentation to support the things that I'm going to say tonight. They're not going to be coming off the top of my head. I'm not going to be here to attack anyone. I'm here to encourage you, the voter, because voters, you deserve a better government. You deserve a government that will serve you. You deserve leaders that have integrity, respect for one another, they're honest, and they're honorable, and they're humble. We deserve, and I am a citizen also, you deserve leadership that is more concerned about you, the taxpayer, than they are about taking care of other elected officials in this county. So I'm going to sit here tonight and I'm going to answer questions as honestly as I can, not for the sake of getting you to vote for me, but to let you understand that I'm here to serve you as a servant leader. I've been a servant leader for over 30 years.
Well, I don't want to murder this name, but Gloria starts with a T. Okay, you're first in line. Come around here. Wait a minute. Yes, you have to have the mic. Beginning of the next one. Bill Clevenger, you're next.
What are the current most pressing concerns for Montgomery County?
We take these in order.
You'll take them in order the first time and then we'll switch over.
Okay. Gloria, great question. Right now, our biggest concerns is our financial state. When the previous county judge took a step down, and we've had our AAA credit rating, we had a healthy contingency balance, a fund balance, contingency balance, and it seems that the more I've dug in, we're robbing Peter to pay Paul. It's frightening what's happening. And the CARES Act money, there were 12 counties in this state that received CARES Act money for $55 a head, and that was never distributed. Matter of fact, the current chief of staff and county judge stated that I asked for 5 times the amount for the city of Montgomery that I asked for. Getting a records request was very vague. It was everybody pointing the other direction. I couldn't get an answer. Matter of fact, there was an email thread that did not come to me in its original form, and it was it seemed to have been doctored. So our financial state is concerning. We've got a lot of new faces moving to Montgomery County, but we're spending as if we're 2 years down the road. We're not spending within our budget today, which is frightening. And quite frankly, something that I know that I've gone through a budget process for 4 years at the city of Montgomery. We had a healthy budget for the first time. Montgomery has got a savings account, fiscally responsible, and we look at ways to cut and be responsible, yet provide for our citizens, you the taxpayers. I actually looked at the budget, and 50% of the current county budget is salaries. Now, a lot of those are our law enforcement. Law enforcement and first responders are highly important, but there's got to be places we can cut, and we are spending as if that money is growing on trees, and it's not. It's not at all. And nobody in this county, none of us got our CARES Act money, and I want to know where it is. I think we all should want to know where it is.
Go ahead.
Can I do that?
Yes, sir.
Well, there are a couple things that we need to mention about that in this rebuttal, and that is number one, we had a deadline to turn in receipts in which we decided that we were going to reimburse municipalities and political subdivisions that did not qualify under the 500,000 population mark of the CARES Act, and that we would reimburse them for their expenses. Mayor, if you'll be intellectually honest, you guys didn't even turn anything in until December. It was 2 months, 3 months behind. And when we finally got to you, we showed you where we had 2 receipts of emails where we had sent you the packet. And Richard Tram called us and he said, hey, what's going on? So we went to the court to help you and passed a resolution that we would fund up to a certain amount. It was 4 months before we got everything handled. And when it came in, you handed in receipts on credit cards, expecting us. You didn't even itemize the stuff. Now, concerning the CARES Act, I just happen to have the CARES Act information right here. This is how the CARES Act works. The CARES Act was federal money that was given to political entities that was, I will get back to that, thank you. Can I answer the question now?
Yes, sir.
I think there are 3 things that I think are extremely important right now that we need to work on. We've had tremendous success in Montgomery County. This last year, when other counties were failing and going down big time in terms of dollars, in terms of their revenues, Montgomery County it became a soaring economy. All you have to do is go out and sit on 1488, sit on 45 and exiting, go up to 105, 13, 14, wherever, and it's just loaded with people. Because we are growing, we're getting better. So the number 1 issue, probably more than anything right now, is about roads. The second thing is about keeping and making sure that we do whatever it takes and we are able to keep transportation moving around this town. We can talk. Every time I go to a debate or a budget, it's always about these little nuances of the budget. We are still AAA rated. We've got a budget surplus that you wouldn't believe. It is amazing what has taken place in the reserves that we have. Now, you can listen to bloggers and not do the research and people that are constantly taking shots at the county, or you can do actual real live research and see we have a huge fund balance. And the fact of the matter is that we want to be able to keep that. We just don't want to give it away or misspend it. The taxes have gone, and as your appraisals have gone up every year, since I have been in this position, we have dropped the rate to compensate for the increase in appraisals. Never in the history of the county have we done it, ever in its entire history. 3 sessions in a row on average. And we have operated according to new revenue. In the last 2 years, that has come in as a result of this exponential growth. So keeping our taxes where they're at, so you don't pay more money, and the people who built the community get punished for more taxes each year. The third thing is licking this COVID nonsense. There's so much going on with COVID, and you have to wonder, is it real? Is it not real? You go through this vaccination stuff. We're under tremendous pressure to put pressure upon you for vaccinations, for all these various things, masks and the rest, and the answer is no. We're not going to do it. And those are 3 major priorities.
Can I review or?
You can.
Okay, I'd like to. Are y'all aware that there's a potential clawback of $40 million from the federal government? Why? Because the county auditor, the director of the county budget director have also stated in commissioner's court to the commissioners and to the county judge that the federal government's going to be coming and asking for this money. We don't have that money in reserves. Half of it was given to a forensic center. But we need to be better stewards of that money. When the federal government calls coming back, they don't take payment plans. They're going to want that $40 million right away. Also, I'd like to point out here, Senator Creighton says that Judge Mark Keough refuses to acknowledge the $55 per capita distribution of local governments under Congress's 2020 CARES Act Coronavirus Relief Fund. In response to the County Commissioner's Court unanimous refusal to distribute the full $55 per capita to local governments in Montgomery County, Woodlands Township Boards members Shelley Saluka Gibbs and Gordy Bunch and other directors requested that Texas Senator Brandon Creighton ask Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton whether withholding the funds for distribution is legal. I didn't get the original emails, and you know that.
Okay, here it is, people. Here is the CARES Act.
Microphone.
May excuse me, I got all excited. May a unit of local government receiving a fund payment transfer funds to another unit of government. The rule was if you're 500,000 population, you'll get directly funded by the federal government. If you want to, you can fund other entities that didn't receive those monies. And the county or city may transfer funds to its state provided that the transfer qualifies as necessary expenditure incurred due to the public emergency and meets the criteria of Section 60 of the FEMA Act, Social Security Act. Is a fund payment recipient required to transfer funds to a smaller constituent unit of government, i.e. the city of Montgomery? Question answers, federal government, no. For example, a county recipient is not required to transfer funds to smaller cities within the county's borders. Now that's the question, that's the official document, we are not required to, but we did it anyway. And the reason that we required receipts, we had some people that wanted to take the money and do things with it that weren't acceptable. We had one city that wanted to build a fire department with it, and you couldn't do that. That's why we said we will pay you back, give us your receipts.
Thank you guys for the rest break. Okay, three main things, guys. Very simple. There's no doubt we're growing at a pace. We are already about 10 years behind in our road construction. We're growing at a pace of about 3 to 5% a year. We're not prepared. The county has not gotten us prepared for where we're going. It's a lot of work. I've built subdivisions before myself. I run a nonprofit that goes into hurricane zones, and I go in and I help rebuild infrastructure and homes for families after they've been devastated by hurricanes. I know a little bit about how long it takes to deal with federal, state, and county permits, rules, regulations. We're already 10 years behind, literally, because of our growth rate. And so I'm glad we do have a mobility plan in place. Thank you to the commissioners for doing that. That's a good thing. Future growth is our biggest problem. Our debt load is another problem right now. $41 million of our annual budget goes straight to debt. We have about $500 million in bond debt right now. If we're not careful, if we go out, and I can tell you already, they're already talking about a $300 to $400 million bond coming up. And if that happens, we're going to be closer to $1 billion in debt. Guys, I don't think that's a good thing. We need to be planning on how we're going to get that done. And so that's my biggest concern. And the other thing is when it comes to tax rates, by the way, just because the tax rate goes down doesn't mean you're going to get a tax bill that goes down. Because I can tell you personally, my tax bill did not go down every time the tax rates do, because it's an average overall. Yes, the county does not get they get the same amount of percentage of money, but that doesn't mean every single one of you in this room got a tax break. And so I just want you to know, I want to make sure we don't play games with words, and we understand just because the number is down doesn't mean everybody gets tax breaks.
That's what I said. When we started off, you get 2 rebuttals.
Okay, no problem.
Next question, Bill. And the next one after that is Calvin Russell. Oh, you're good.
Good evening. Thank you, candidates, for attending. Good evening. Thank you, the candidates, for attending this evening and allowing us to do this. As a small business owner in Montgomery County, I wanted to ask the question, with the explosion of growth coming out of Houston and all around, I travel the roads all day long and see many new license plates from everywhere. Everybody has the American dream. Everybody comes to Texas and says, hey, I want to, live the freedoms and liberties that we all share as Texans. A lot of, everybody knows small businesses are the engine to the country, just as they are to the state of Texas. I would like to ask each one of the candidates, we all see it, big box retailers, they're popping up everywhere. How do you, as the next county judge, or as in your situation, if you get to carry on, how do you want to foster and support small businesses and people that have those dreams to open up a small business and create the jobs and work through these turbulent times that we are all experiencing? So that's my question. How do you want to foster small business, and how do you bring it up and be the engine in Montgomery County for all of us to enjoy? Thank you.
Start off. Mark, we'll start off with you.
Okay. Well, if you've noticed during the whole pandemic and that whole issue, one of the things that I learned very quickly was you cannot have a healthy community without a healthy economy. I also learned, and that became our mantra. The second mantra that we developed during this time was that as businesses are trying to grow and develop, the government cannot be in a position of choosing winners and losers, determining who is essential and who is not essential. All business is essential. Let this happen. And in Montgomery County, 17 counties around us closed before we closed. And when we did, it was at the request of our health department, whose model showed that we were going to have 100,000 cases and 1,000 dead by the end of the month of April in 2020. So, okay, we went along with them. We believed the science. 2 weeks later, as we saw that they were living in an alternative universe, we opened up the county. We got rid of masks. We turned people loose to do their business. Now, what's the purpose of that? Why am I saying that? Because the best thing the government can do is stay out of people's business. And let entrepreneurs use their creativity and their enthusiasm and their go-for-it attitude and turn them loose and let it happen. That's the best thing we can do for you. And that's what's happening right now. Businesses are cropping up everywhere. The amount of permits that we're issuing for business and the rest is unbelievable. And you can count on this. I will always be in favor of small business. We can't have a healthy community without a healthy economy. And the guys down in Harris County, they're getting ready to do a code renegade. They're ready to start shutting people down again. They're making people wear masks. And that's one of the reasons why so many people are coming here to Montgomery County.
That's right. Thank you.
Well, let's just go on down that road, guys. The unconstitutional shutdown hurt this county. Our unemployment rate went from 4.6% to 12.9%. We can say what we want. It was illegal and it was unconstitutional. I've got the Constitution. Feel free to read it. I've got the state Constitution. Feel free to read it. Y'all can laugh all you want, but we're either constitutionalists or we're not in this county. And we can distract and we can talk about it all we want. We hurt businesses. We did not, as a county, help businesses. We hurt them. People lost their jobs. There are still companies right now that have not restarted in Montgomery County. We must be a small business lover. Really, we must. I'm a small business owner myself, and I know the importance of that. And so we must foster opportunity. We must do everything that we can to encourage entrepreneurship, capitalism. That's what makes America great. And that's why I live in this country, and that's why I live in this county, because it's one of the fastest growing counties in the state of Texas. But if we're going to have government leaders that think they can legislate from the court, then we're in trouble, ladies and gentlemen, because if you'll shut down once, you'll shut down again, and then you'll come back. It's kind of like going out into a forest, setting a fire, and then 2 weeks later you come back and you put it out and you want to be the hero. Ladies and gentlemen, if you set the fire to start with, you're not a hero. We shut the county down, they're not a hero.
%. We should not have shut the county down, and you did shut the county down. That hurt so many of the entrepreneurs and small businesses. We also, to help our taxpayers that were shut down, that they couldn't go to work, they couldn't provide for their families, we sent back $7.1 million of rental assistance back to the state because we were too lazy to do anything about it. We made it hard. There has been over 3,300 evictions in this county. But yet I read in the papers and I hear in Commissioner's Court, we just don't have renters. We don't have that kind of taxpayer here. Yes, we do. The calls of the people that I have been meeting with, they are outraged. And there's a lot of nonprofits here that actually have been helping and trying to help. It was impossible to get rental insurance, rental assistance. The businesses were shut down in Montgomery, in the city of Montgomery. All of our retail was shut down. Thankfully, we're not a big hospitality town where hotels and all of that affect our bottom line. We were essential. Food is essential. Gas is essential. Groceries were essential. So our town was able to stay open and actually keep their head above water, which was I'm so thankful for. However, the curfew, we are all adults. If you want to wear a mask, wear a mask. If you want to get your booster and get your shot, get your shot. We're in the land of the free. Don't tell us what we have to do. We are adults, and in businesses, if you want to sit people 6 feet apart or 10 feet apart, or if it's 2 feet apart, it's my choice to go into that place of business. But it's not the government's place. Small government, get out of the people's business.
Amen.
I've heard comments about the road problem we have here and also about picking winners and losers. And my question has to do with my county commissioner, and I don't see him in a place there, Charlie Riley. Thankfully, there's going to be someone running against him. But anyway, our commissioner, and I guess all of them probably did, they took nearly $1.4 million of our tax revenue and gave it to charity. Now, they say they gave it to charity because that charity are performing services that the county had to do and they're going to save money. Well, once you give that money to charity, you have no accountability left in that. And I think it's wrong to take my tax dollars and give it to charity, no matter how wonderful that charity may be. Charity is something I would support on my own. I don't want my tax dollars going to it. So what can you do to stop that?
Billy? Wow, that's a great question, since I am a charity. I run a multi-million-dollar charity, as many of you know, and I take zero money from any county. I take zero money from any state. I take zero money from any federal government, because I believe that charity is done by the people in the county, or your home, or your churches. If I'm going to decide as a county judge or a county commissioner who gets the charity, well, who's going to get money out of the 300 to 400 different charities that we have in this county? Ladies and gentlemen, the only caveat, and this is a game that's played often, I work with county governments all over the state of Texas, and I'm going to tell you what, there is a game, some of it is good and some of it is bad. There is a caveat. There are statutory opportunities for some charities to serve a county, and it does save we the taxpayers money. We don't have to create new departments, and we don't have to do some other things. But other than that, it must be accountable. There must be mechanisms in place for that money to be 100% accountable back to you, the tax dollar, the taxpayers. And we don't always have that. But other than that, there should be $0 that come into the county tax base that goes out to any charity, because charity is to be done by the people out of their own hearts, out of their own spirits, and out of their own passion. So I am 100% against doing any charity work through the county other than one or two possibly, and I would have to look at it, some of a statutory way to save you money, because as your county judge, I want to save you money. I don't want to waste your money. I want to find ways to cut the budget, not waste the budget. I want to find every single place in the budget where we're wasting and stealing your money, and I want to give it back. Really what I want to do is I want to build you some new roads with it, because I bet you're going to want some new roads here in the next 3 or 4 years, since there's about 10,000 people going to move in.
Charity. I've met with a charity that has been trying to get with the current county judge and the current commissioners, not for money, just for recognition. We want to be recognized. We are here to help the taxpayers. They provide a phenomenal service. And they haven't asked for any money, but they just want the county to know that they're here to help the taxpayers of this county. And they truly are the hub of any kind of mental health that you have, whether it's an eating disorder, a mental health disorder, suicide, whatever it is. They've got 18 different legs that came off of what they do. And what they do is when you call them, they give you the resources on where to go and to get help. And they hold your hand for free. But they want to be recognized by the Montgomery County, and they can't get in front of anyone that want to hear them. And this organization both the founders come from traumatic backgrounds, and they feel snubbed. And then they also speak to other nonprofits in this county and found out that other nonprofits get favored and also get dollars sent to them in creative manners. That's not right. That is not fair. Our job as a county is to not fund charities. That is you, the people. That's your money. You decide what to do with that money, not the government.
I agree. Now, I want to address something that you said earlier, and it has to do with shutting down the county. Let me tell you about leadership. Leadership is you make a hard decision based upon the information that you have.
Right.
Very tough.
Right.
Even thinking about doing that was very, very tough. The only reason why we did a curfew was temporary was because 17 counties around us had shut down, and guess what? They had no curfew. It was at 11:59 at night. My thinking was the good people are going to be inside the house anyway. Who's running the streets? We want to have police watching what's going on. Because our own church got robbed out of a warehouse during this time. This was going on all over the place. So that's why we put the curfew in place. But even then, 2 weeks later, we ended it. We didn't shut down the world. And by the way, let's go on record. Before we shut down, the President of the United States shut down all government. The governor of the state of Texas shut down all government. We had a hospital ship over in California, another hospital ship over on the East Coast, and we're suffering through this whole deal. And then they come to us and they say, and they give the county judges the opportunity to open or close. I went with the signs 2 weeks, but leadership is making a change of course when you see it's not working.
Yes.
And that's what I did. I made a change of course. I fought the local and state governments. I fought Harris County. I fought the city of Houston. I fought everybody to keep your doors open, to keep you from having to wear masks, from being forced to have vaccines. And I will still fight for you for that stuff. All this stuff about charities, we all agree it's unconstitutional. It's unconstitutional, but you know what? It is the Constitution. There is statute that says we are responsible for indigents as a county. We are responsible for kids who are hurting and our children's safe harbor and what we do for them. And by the way, as a pastor of a church, we give to a variety of these things. But where are the rest of the churches? Does that mean we should roll over and play dead because the churches aren't doing it? No. We had money to use and we spend it and we're helping people with it.
Leadership does not give us the authority to suspend the Constitution under any rights or any reason at all. It is absolutely never, ladies and gentlemen, never okay, just because of circumstances, fears, or concerns to suspend the Constitution. If we're going to do that, let's not live in America, because all we have in America is our Constitution. We have to be very careful when we find reasons and excuses to shut down or to do things that are not constitutional, things that are not legal. I can read to you the statutes of the Constitution right now, state or U.S., and I can tell you I've had this checked by lawyers, constitutional lawyers. What was happening in this county was not legal. County judges did not have the right to tell you you are not essential. I had to keep my company open because guess what? What I did was not considered essential, but guess what? My guys worked every day because I stood in the face of it and said, I'm going to work anyway, and I was working in Harris County. I'm not mad. I'm happy. I'm trying to make sure everybody back there hears me.
All right, Kenneth is next. And then Kristen with a P. Anybody? PLAIS? Ants? Okay.
So my question is on transparency. Do you believe, each one of you, that there's enough transparency in Commissioner's Court on spending our dollars? We repeat, our dollars. If you do think there's enough transparency, that's an answer. If you don't, I want to hear how you're going to fix it. What are your thoughts on increasing transparency in Commissioner's Court and spending our money?
My word for the year is transparency. What I say on the record is what I will say off the record, because it's the truth and the truth has no agenda. Now, what I will also tell you is I watched the forum from 4 years ago, your first forum when you were running, and it was about full transparency and open book policy. And you talked about having transparency on the books, that not my money, it is the people's money. What happened to that promise? Because there's a lot of backroom deals that happen. If you've been to Commissioner's Court, the consent agenda, all of that's been discussed prior to the meeting. And if you're in there, you have no idea what's been discussed. And this is your business, not just the commissioners. It's you are the taxpayers. In this county, I've been watching. The politicians think they're the rock stars. You are the rock stars. Y'all are the ones here, living here, spending your money here, and investing in Montgomery County. The politicians, the electeds, they work for you. Amen. You are busy living your life, and the electeds are supposed to be diligent with your money and fiscally responsible to ensure your quality of life. You have roads, you don't flood, and you have a life that you invested in with higher taxes, and you get everything out of that. You can't worry about where every dollar is spent while you're out making your money and living your life. And I'll tell you, I've looked at, not until I brought it to the attention of the county judge, that if you look online, there was no transparency. All the financial reports were even 2 years old sitting out there. Now they have been updated. But the check register, you said Travis County has got it right. They've got an Excel spreadsheet. You can see every check, who wrote it and for how much. Has anybody here tried to go look at the county budget? Are you able to understand it and see where every dollar is spent? No, exactly. But yet, all of those guys, they gave everybody a 5% raise. You're not doing your job. Why do you get a raise?
I agree about the raises. I haven't taken a raise since I entered into the position. I took a 12% cut, and every year I don't take one. And I voted against the last budget, not because we were low in taxes or we were too high in one area or another, but I voted against it because of all the raises that were given. That being said, this whole issue of transparency, I believe in transparency. That's why you have 72 hours before every commissioner's court to go and look on the agenda. We're required by law to have it posted. I was the one who came in and made sure that backup was put under every point. By the way, the people who are complaining the most have never even picked up the telephone and called me and asked me a question once. I am an open book. It's amazing to me that you would all of a sudden decide you're going to run and disrupt the entire system when you don't even bother to call your county judge and ask the question. I'm talking about my two partners here. It is amazing to me. But in terms of transparency, I'm all for transparency. Come look at the books. Pick up the phone. Let's meet. Come talk to our budget officer. Why don't you talk to our auditor? Our auditors, the people that come in and audit us, they think we're awesome. The people that come in, they're not paid by us. And Sarah, this idea that you are some kind of the hero of small business, you spent 9 months beating up the guy that ran against you, and when he ran against you, and you wouldn't even move forward when he had permits to open up his ice cream store in your town. So don't sit there and preach to us about business, being pro-business, when you sit there and you fight a guy just like that.
Thank you, Jeff. Go ahead.
All right. Spirit of Texas Bank. Why are the taxpayers being put at risk when a bank is falling short of their obligations in the red? My tax dollars are not meant to be spent to take a private enterprise and get them into the black. That's not good. That's poor leadership and management of taxpayer dollars. Number one. Number two, hold on, that's my time. And number two, let's talk about that. A vendetta is somebody who loses. The winner never has a vendetta. I don't have a vendetta. When you're going to open business, you gotta do it the right way. Pull the right permits. Do it the right way. It's your job. If you make $1 a day, or if your business makes $1 million a day, that is not my business. I hope everybody knocks it out of the park. I come from an entrepreneurial family. They've done well because they had the opportunity and government didn't get in the way. I want you to survive. I want you to do well, but I want you to go by the rules. Nobody's an exception, and we don't make rules for one person or two people. We make them for everyone. Nobody's an exception.
Billy, back to the for you.
Oh boy, I get to answer. Transparency. Transparency is a key part of government. We must have transparency. Does Montgomery have transparency? They have some. They don't have as much as I would like to see. I can tell you again, here's a minute to every single meeting we've had this year, and I think the judge would let you know that I go to a lot of the meetings. I'm there, and I have called different commissioners over the last couple of years to try and get information. And when I can get a hold of them, when they call me back, we have wonderful conversations. I dig deep. I'm a researcher. I find out lots of things. I will say that in our typical agenda, 79% on average is under the consent agenda. 21% is actually open. Now, there is a percentage of the consent agenda that I absolutely agree should be on the consent agenda. It moves the meeting along faster. But there are areas that we very often should have in the open agenda area, which I think would be more transparent for people to see. And I will do that as your county judge. I will ensure that the things that shouldn't be in the consent agenda, like land that's being donated for things that we don't know what it's for, but that's going to cost us a lot of money to make it happen. That's a different subject, but maybe we'll talk about it later. And other types of conversations, but there are a lot of things that can be taken to the open agenda. Whether or not someone is there to talk about it or not, that's not really the point, ladies and gentlemen. The point is that we have a process that ensures that if it's something that should be talked about, it's available to be talked about. There's a reason I have these printed out, because I read every single one. I am very engaged in what's going on in our county, and that is the only reason that I'm running for county judge, because I believe that I'm the only one sitting at this table that has the passion and the ability to take what we have, make it better, and do it right.
According to the clock, we're past due, and we should stop this. However, we should close this session of it. But the other candidates that are supposed to show up for the other two positions, we only have one of each candidates for those other positions, which will give us more question and answer time later. If y'all are willing, we can extend this for about another 10 minutes.
Bring it on.
Bring it on.
Go for it.
Or is the audience okay with that?
Absolutely.
You're up, ma'am. No, that's okay. The next one is Mary Jo.
Okay. Hi, my name is Kristen Plaisance. I have a question. Do you believe that election fraud played a role in the 2020 election outcome? Yeah. And what are 3 things you would commit to do in Montgomery County to help ensure that we have transparent, secure, and honest elections?
Great question.
It's your turn.
Great. I'll tell you what we've done. We have examined the various machines. We responded to the people that came to us, and everybody kept telling us. We said our machines are great. They're working good. We do not have a problem in Montgomery County. But the fact of the matter is we went ahead and we purchased new machines. New machines that when you go to take and do the voting, you get a paper receipt that comes out. You'll be able to see what you have done, and it will then be put and will be tabulated and dropped into a box that you can't get to. It is not connected to the internet. There's no way that it can be hacked. It's excellent, and it will work. That's the first thing we did, and spent a lot of money to do it. Now, you won't see that in this primary, but you will see it in the fall. Everybody doesn't agree with us on that, but we did the best that we can with what we have. There's just no end to the amount of things that could change whenever we do. Do I believe there was fraud in the last election? How could you not believe there was fraud? Okay, so we're doing everything we can to make sure. But you know what we have found? In the last election, we also found that when the precinct chairs would take the information and they would drop it off at the local party headquarters, they would leave. And they wouldn't stay there and witness what was happening. Now, I don't believe there was fraud with us there, but that's what took place. And you know what? We ultimately came to the conclusion that part of the biggest problem in all of this, if it was going to happen here in Montgomery County, is us and our processes. Where we have it now is there is a seamless approach to taking it, the paper trail, it goes there and it is tabulated, it is sent to the state. And it can't be tampered with. So that's where we're at in terms of what we have done. But do I believe there was fraud? Heck yeah, I do. I hate it, and I believe that we've done everything we can at this point to move forward on it. And we'll continue to look at things and try and do better as we move forward. We're not perfect in anything that we did, but we've done a pretty good job. And I'm thankful that we had the resources to be able to do it and to be able to fund it.
Absolutely, I agree that there was fraud. There's really no denying fraud, and it was national. It was a national project, but we did have fraud here in Montgomery County, one way or the other. And I am glad that we're getting new machines. I think a lot of people don't realize that the only machines you can even order at a county level are machines that are qualified through the state, and they don't give us but I think 2 choices to pick from. And I did spend quite a bit of time with Ms. Harvey talking about it. I went down and watched them calibrate, and I inspected the ones that we have. And there are some flaws in what we have, and we did need to replace the machines, and your tax dollars are buying new machines, and I'm glad they are. I like the idea of printing a ballot out. It's not perfect. It's not the way that I feel 100% comfortable, but I feel better now than I felt in 2020. I can tell you that. Is there better ways to do some things? Probably. The key is people. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't want to see fraud in our elections, then every person in this room needs to go ahead and sign up to be a poll watcher, to be a something, count the ballots, be involved. See, fraud can't take place if y'all are sitting there watching them. It can't happen. So the best way we can keep fraud from happening, get involved, volunteer to be a part of the process, and that's how we'll save our elections. Number 2, if you're involved, you'll understand exactly what the challenges are and the problems that we have. There is no perfect voting system, believe it or not. They've been cheating and voting for about 4,000 years. It's not a new thing. But we must do everything we can in Montgomery County to alleviate every possible way people can cheat. Because without a voting ability, we don't have our country.
Right.
Was there voter fraud? 100%. I agree. I think we're all on the same page as that. Montgomery County having voter fraud? You say no, he says yes. I don't know. I cannot make an intelligent decision on that or comment because I don't know. I really don't. I wasn't part of the process. I don't know how it works as far as where my vote goes. I assume that who I vote for is tallied properly and counted correctly. And I agree with you, Billy. How are we going to make sure that that is airtight? All hands on deck. The more eyes that are on the process, the less corruption, the less mistakes, the less issue, that is the potential issue that could take place. We all have a voice, and our voice should be heard. It may not be the majority, it may be the majority, but it should be heard and heard properly. And when I vote for Sara Countryman, I want to vote for Sara Countryman. I don't want to vote for Mark, or I don't want to vote for Billy. And they don't want their people voting for me either. So I appreciate the new machines, and I'm glad it's not Wi-Fi connected. I know we're going to be storming the city of Montgomery, but at the same time, voter fraud is real, and it's been here since the beginning of time. I've been doing a little research, and I don't believe there's been one election that anybody feels, a presidential election included, that anybody feels that their candidate or any of the candidates were 100% tallied in authenticity and transparency. So thank you for the improvements that you did make on that.
Okay, one last question.
I keep hearing about the forensic center that's going to be built, and I know we have about 630,000 people in Montgomery County, and we don't really need a forensic center until we hit 1 million people. And I want to know from each of you, do you think we're ready for one now? Because it's not only the land and the building and all the equipment and the expensive salaries for all the qualified people that have to work there. So I'd like to hear from each of you. Do you think we're ready at this point for a major forensic center? And when do you think we're going to hit that 1 million mark? And when should we be prepared for it? Thank you.
I guess I'm first.
Yes, sir.
Finally.
You've been first before.
I'm just messing around. I love you, baby. Love you, baby. Hey, on the forensic center, I was at many of the meetings that they were talking about that. My biggest challenge with the forensic center, one is it financially expedient for us now? Is it statutorily required of us now? I'd have to sit down and talk to the law enforcement teams and see exactly what kind of workload they have to whether or not it's justifiable or not. My bigger issue is really how we did it, ladies and gentlemen. It's not so much what we did, it's how we did it. I was sitting in the meetings and they didn't even have drawings. We want $20 million or whatever, and first the commissioner said they didn't have drawings, then the commissioner all of a sudden had some drawings. We're back to transparency again. Guys, when we're going to spend that kind of money, I want to see it in a budget. I don't want to see surprises. I want to see architectural drawings. Man, I want to see some engineering layouts. I don't want to see a big box with some other boxes in it and some commissioner say, hey, we need 20 million bucks. That is absolutely improper, and as a county judge, that will never happen under me. But it did happen. It did happen because I was sitting in the room when it did happen. And I can tell you, Judge Keough wasn't happy about it either, I remember. And neither were some of the other commissioners. But guys, that's how our county is operating right now many times. And we've got to put a stop. We have to uncover and let's just be honest with the taxpayers. If we need something, let's tell them. Let's just tell them. And if they want to pay for it, fantastic, we'll buy it. But if they don't want to pay for it, then we don't change the name on it and call it something else and go around another way to do it because we've got friends that are going to get it. We must be honest and truthful.
Billy, I resent the fact that you think you have the moral high ground on this.
Judge?
I'm sorry, I thought I was second, but I still resent it.
No.
Do we need a forensic center? To be honest, I've not been to the current one. I've heard that there's stacks of bodies and boxes. I've heard that it's in a warehouse. I've heard we've got one of the best forensics here in our county. But quite frankly, I too have a problem with how we procured the money for that, and that there was not a plan, and it wasn't budgeted, and it was asked for and granted right then and there. $20 million is a lot of money, and it took money that we have got to get a clawback from the federal government. Not money well spent. We need a forensic center, let's put it on a 5-year roadmap. I feel like we're spending money. Look, we've got it here, let's spend it here. Nobody's looking in the future. Those kind of projects have got to be planned out, well thought out, bids put out to make sure we're getting the bang for our buck and not just writing checks because we want a shiny new toy.
So So I'm going to challenge both of you guys that you think you have the moral high ground on this. It was in the budget. You were there. Every person in this room was there for the budget meetings, could have been to the budget meetings and given input during the workshops. By the time it came down to it, we did have drawings, we did have monies, and you guys need to quit reading these blogs that are telling you things that aren't true. And you need to actually go to really find out what happened. Did you guys call me? No. Did you call me? No. Did you call me? No. And you can. And yet you just all of a sudden throw these platitudes out there as if that's what happened, and that's not what happened at all. And I will tell you this, when it comes to debt, we have not taken on any bond in the last 3 years. We have defeased debt and lowered the exposure to the county, which I told you I would do when I came to do this. This kind of nonsense that I hear here, just one right after the other, about the things they're saying that has taken place are not taking place. And I take, I refuse to just roll over and play dead on that, thinking that you guys have somehow got the moral high ground and the Commissioner's Court is going south on you. This is the best Commissioner's Court. It is the most honest Commissioner's Court that we've ever had. Couldn't it be more honest? No problem. No problem. You can, just so you know, you can call me a lot of things. People say he doesn't know what he's doing, he never shows up for work, they say all kinds of stuff. But one thing I have not been called is a liar. I work with these individuals, I spend time with them, I don't agree. When it comes to the consent agenda, if we don't want it on the consent agenda, we have a process in place. It's called move it to the open agenda. And then we pass the agenda with modifications, then we talk about it in the open agenda. We are doing it so much better than so many counties. It's unbelievable. And yet it's easy to sit on the sidelines of armchair quarterbacks and think you have all the answers, that all of a sudden you're going to come in and deliver it. And I want you both to understand, you've got 4 other people you're working with who have equal vote that you can get voted down in 2 seconds. So all these platitudes won't work.
Not use it since it's sitting here.
Never know.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to understand something from Billy Graff. I will always take the moral high ground. Always. Always. Part of the problem we have is we do not have leaders that always take the moral high ground. And if you want to dog me for taking the moral high ground, feel free. You want to dog me for being honest and trustworthy? Feel free. You want to dog me because someone disagrees with me? Feel free. I will always take the high ground. I will always do the best I can. And if I mess up, I'll be mad enough to say, I'm sorry. I'm an humble man. Something we don't have in our county court, I can tell you. Because I've never heard anybody, commissioners or anyone else, say, whoo! Messed up, I apologize, it's on me. Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to close this out tonight. I want to just say, taking a more high ground, if that's the best y'all can come at me, bring it on, baby. Bring it on. Because I am moral, and I will fight for you in the same absolute way, and I will do my research. Thank you.
Judge, 2-minute closing statements.
Okay? First of all, I didn't say you had the moral high ground. I said don't think you have the moral high ground, because you don't. And the fact of the matter is, when you make platitudes and you make adjustments and say things that are in direct contradiction to what is going on, because you read a blog and you hang out with somebody, you talk about integrity, that in everything they write, you have adopted that and you automatically think that you have the right to do these things, please. And this idea that you don't have the moral high ground, I didn't say you don't get the moral high ground, maybe I should say, Billy. There are other people here who also are born-again believers, who have integrity, who are Christians. And the last time I checked, if you had a problem with me as a Christian man, how come you didn't come to me as a Christian man and say, talk to me about this, Mark? Instead, you just decided to listen to a few people who put you up to it for whatever reason. Whether you need a job, I don't know what it is. But that's what you did. You didn't even call me on the phone. A Christian man, a pastor to a pastor. How is that? And you're telling me that you do have the moral high ground? There's no integrity in that. When I ran against my opponent, I called him ahead of time. I called him on the open meetings violations. I called him from the House floor. I talked to him about taxes. I asked him, please don't do this. Here's an alternative. And I talked to him about anything before I decided to run. He refused to do it. I didn't even get a call from Sarah or from Billy. And that's why I'm still sitting here going, man, why didn't we talk about this? So, as far as that goes, I've worked very hard for this county. I have a proven track record of defending this county. I have kept open businesses, I have kept open places of worship, Second Amendment places, schools, and done everything I can to keep us open and keep business going. I've lived by the mantra, you can't have a healthy community without a healthy economy. The government should never be in the business of choosing winners and losers, and those who are essential and not essential. And lastly, I have lived by this. God created us for community, to be together, and that's where we need to be. I want to encourage you. I will stand with you on this. I will fight for you. I've already proven it. And I ask for your support. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, I have to say, that's the first time I got chewed out for saying something. I don't even know what I said that caused such a ruckus. But yeah, I am a man of God, and I do consistently do everything that I can. Am I perfect? Nope, not a bit. Am I going to sit here and accuse and scream and holler at someone? Seems pretty disrespectful to me. I don't really know what I did to deserve it, but I'll take it. That's fine. Whatever. I must have said something that didn't invite. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sitting here tonight because I'm more concerned about you than I am for me. I'm more concerned about your situation than I am my own situation. I'm not really worried about whether I win or lose. I'm here to tell you the truth and to give you an option. If you like what you have, then keep what you have. If you like the policies of the current judge, then keep the current judge. If you're comfortable and you feel safe, and you're not worried about unconstitutional edicts and things of that nature, then you make your choices and you make your decisions. But I find it very disrespectful, and I do take, I don't even know what word I want to say. I want to stay respectful here. But to sit in a room publicly and to be chastised because I said I'm about morality and to challenge my faith, Jim, when you judge, that's the most ungodly thing I think I've experienced this year. Thank you.
Marie.
Thank y'all again for this evening, this opportunity. I want to let you know I do want to be your next county judge. I don't need to pay someone $73,000 to drive me around. I can do it myself. I don't need you to have a county vehicle that you're paying for me to ride around in that vehicle. I am about transparency, and that county commissioner's court will run much differently when I'm your county judge. By the way, as taxpayers, I think you also need to know your taxes are going to go up in FY 2024. The decisions made by this commissioner's court and this judge, they chose the option. I think it was political reasons to keep the no new tax rate at the level it is. It certainly wasn't financial reasons. You need to have somebody up there that has got business acumen, that understands what consequences look like and how they affect people, not just today, but in the future. Look at 5, 10, 20 years down the line, because what you do today affects long term, not just today. And because you've got a bank account with some zeros in it and some commas, doesn't mean you go spend it all. And spending on futures, that is not a way to run a county. What if there's another hurricane? What if there's a pandemic? This county is broke. And I want to help you get it out of the gutter. My name is Sara Countryman, Countryman4CountyJudge.com.
Thank you, candidates. Well, it's 20 till. We have scheduled for a 10-minute break. If you would like to meet with the candidates outside,